Under the shade of the Bodhi tree, the Buddha sat, surrounded by disciples yearning for wisdom and clarity. Ananda, troubled by impermanence, spoke first. Blessed One, I fear the certainty of change and the pain it brings into our lives. The Buddha gazed at the leaves above, their gentle dance reflecting the eternal cycle of growth and decay. Ananda, the Buddha began. Observe these leaves. Each emerges, thrives, withers, and falls, fulfilling the natural order of existence. Ananda looked to the leaves, their fragile beauty momentarily calming the turmoil within his mind and heart. Impermanence is not a curse, continued the Buddha, his voice steady and profound, but the rhythm of life itself. Another disciple asked, Master, how do we accept impermanence without fear overtaking our hearts and minds? The Buddha gestured to the earth beneath him, rich with nutrients sustaining the vibrant tree above. This soil, he said, was once other lives. From their transformation, new forms emerge, endlessly intertwined. The disciples listened intently, their doubts beginning to ease with the quiet logic woven into his words. To resist impermanence is to resist life, the Buddha explained. Clinging only magnifies suffering and blinds us to deeper truths. Blessed One, is there peace beyond impermanence? A disciple named Rahula asked, his voice trembling with uncertainty. The peace you seek lies in acceptance, the Buddha replied. Seeing change as a companion rather than an adversary. Rahula closed his eyes, imagining the gentle embrace of impermanence as a source of liberation, not confinement. A rustling breeze passed through the gathering, its sound a soothing reminder of life's constant movements. The Buddha turned his gaze toward the horizon, painted with the warm hues of the setting sun. Ananda, he called again. Do you grieve for the fading light of day, knowing the dawn will follow? Number. Blessed One, Ananda replied, his voice firmer now. It is part of the cycle, and dawn brings renewal, as does impermanence, the Buddha affirmed. Every ending heralds a beginning, just as night ushers the brilliance of morning. A young disciple spoke hesitantly. But, Master, what of loss, when we must part with those we love deeply? The Buddha's expression softened, his gaze filled with immeasurable understanding. Love does not end with separation. He continued, love transcends impermanence, residing within our hearts and shaping our lives beyond the confines of time. The disciples reflected on their own lives, finding threads of connection even in moments of sorrow and absence. Loss teaches us to cherish, the Buddha said. It reveals impermanence as the canvas upon which our memories are painted. Ananda asked, how do we live without constant fear of what is to come? The Buddha motioned toward the river visible in the distance, flowing tirelessly without hesitation or resistance. Life is like the river, he explained. It moves forward, carrying what it must without clinging to the banks. You, too, must flow, he added. Embrace change as the river embraces the terrain, adapting without losing its essence. Rahula's gaze followed the river's path, his heart quieted by its steadfast determination and grace. The Buddha's voice grew softer yet unwavering, resonating deeply with each disciple gathered before him. Do not fear impermanence, he urged. Fear the absence of growth it provides. For stagnation denies the fullness of life. The Bodhi tree swayed gently above, its branches seeming to bow in harmony with the wisdom shared beneath them. Impermanence awakens us to mindfulness, the Buddha declared. It teaches us to savor each fleeting moment, holding nothing in excess. Ananda nodded, his spirit lighter with the realization that impermanence could be a gift rather than a burden. Another disciple, troubled still, questioned, how do we practice acceptance without succumbing to complacency? Acceptance is not surrender, the Buddha replied firmly. It is the act of living with intentionality and mindfulness. Through mindfulness, he continued, We confront impermanence not with despair, but with reverence for what each moment holds. Master, is mindfulness the answer to impermanence? A disciple asked, seeking clarity within her heart. The Buddha smiled gently. Mindfulness reveals impermanence as part of the tapestry, teaching us gratitude for its intricate patterns. He paused, allowing his words to resonate before continuing. In gratitude, fear loses its grip, and serenity takes its place. The disciples collectively felt a shift within. The fear tied to impermanence melting into awareness and appreciation. A warm breeze brushed their faces, carrying with it the scent of earth and life thriving within impermanence. The Buddha stood, his presence radiating the calm that each disciple yearned to embody within their own journeys. Impermanence is the teacher, he said. Its lessons guide us to live fully, unshackled by what must eventually change. The gathering ended as the moon rose, casting silver light over the tranquil scene where wisdom had been shared. Each disciple departed, carrying the teachings of the Blessed One deep within their hearts and lives. Another day, under the warm rays of the sun, the Buddha walked along the banks of a tranquil stream. Mara approached the Buddha, her heart heavy with uncertainty, seeking answers to questions that gnawed at her very being. Master, Mara began, I am troubled by thoughts of self. I wonder who I am and why I exist. The Buddha stopped and turned to her, his gaze as calm and steady as the flowing water beside them. Mara, observe this stream, he said. Each droplet within it appears separate, yet together they form the entirety of the flow. Mara stared at the stream, her mind wrestling with the idea of unity within separateness, longing to grasp its deeper meaning. The self you cling to, Mara, is like one droplet, the Buddha explained. It seems distinct, yet it belongs to the whole. But Master, Mara questioned, if the self is an illusion, how do we find meaning in our lives? The Buddha knelt by the stream, cupping his hands to lift some water, letting the sun illuminate its shimmering surface. Each droplet reflects the light, contributing to the beauty of the stream. It is significant, yet not a part. Mara watched as the Buddha released the water, and it merged seamlessly back into the flow of the stream. Where has the water gone? The Buddha asked. Does it lose its essence by returning to its source? Master, Mara replied, realizing the significance of the stream's continuous cycle, and the harmony in its unity. So too are we, said the Buddha. When we embrace the truth of interconnection, the illusion of self dissolves into peace. Mara felt the weight of existential doubt begin to lift, though questions remained, sparking her curiosity for deeper understanding. Another disciple, intrigued, stepped forward and asked, Blessed One, if the self is an illusion, what remains when it fades? The Buddha gazed upward at the sky, vast and unbound, and gestured to its expanse. What do you see? I see the sky, the disciple replied, unsure of how the emptiness above could answer such profound uncertainty. And does the sky ever lose its essence when clouds pass through, casting shadows or bringing rain? The Buddha asked. No, the disciple said slowly, realizing the sky's unwavering presence, despite the impermanence of its forms and appearances. Likewise, the Buddha continued, the essence of life persists, unshaken by the changing appearances and illusions we perceive as self. Mara listened intently, feeling the wisdom of these words sink into her thoughts and transform her understanding of existence. Master, Mara said hesitantly, how do we live, knowing ourself is an illusion yet still experiencing individuality? The Buddha smiled softly and replied, do not resist individuality, Mara. Use it to illuminate the interconnectedness of all existence. He explained further. Our actions ripple through the stream of life, affecting others and enriching the harmony of the whole. A breeze passed through the gathering, carrying the scent of blooming flowers that seemed to embody the Buddha's wisdom. Master, a disciple named Rahula asked, "How do we free ourselves from the fear of losing individuality in the vastness?" "Fear arises from clinging," the Buddha replied firmly. "When we cease clinging, we find freedom in unity rather than isolation." Rahula closed his eyes, imagining himself as part of a vast stream, flowing alongside others in perpetual connection and purpose. Mara whispered, "I feel unworthy, Master, as if my existence is too small to matter in the great expanse." The Buddha turned to her, compassion shining in his gaze. "Mara, observe the smallest pebble resting at the stream's bottom. The pebble," he said, "though humble in size, shapes the flow of the stream, guiding its path in subtle yet significant ways." Mara knelt by the stream, picking up a pebble and feeling its smooth surface, connecting her thoughts to its presence. "You matter, Mara," the Buddha said gently. "Each being is a vital part of the whole, contributing to its balance and beauty." The disciples reflected deeply, their questions slowly unraveling as the Buddha's teachings cast light upon their doubts and fears. Another day passed, and the Buddha gathered his disciples once more beneath the shade of the trees. "Do not cling to self," the Buddha began, "but neither dismiss its importance. It is a vessel through which wisdom flows." "Blessed One," a young disciple asked, "how do we balance individuality with the truth of unity and interconnectedness?" "Through mindfulness," the Buddha replied. "Mindfulness teaches us to act with intention, realizing the impact of our actions on the whole." The disciples nodded, each absorbing the lesson with a renewed sense of purpose and connection to the world around them. "The self is the lens through which we perceive life," the Buddha said. "But it must remain clear, not clouded by attachment." Rahula raised his voice. "Master, how can we keep this lens clear, free from the distortions of fear and clinging?" The Buddha answered, "Through practice, Rahula. Observe each thought, each action, and each breath with care and awareness." Mara spoke again, her voice steadier now. "Master, does the illusion of self mean that suffering itself is an illusion?" The Buddha shook his head gently. "No, Mara, suffering is real, but its roots often lie in the clinging to illusion." He continued, "When we release attachment to self, suffering diminishes, and compassion blossoms in its place." Compassion, the Buddha said, is the bridge between individuality and unity, connecting hearts and easing burdens. The disciples felt the weight of these words, their hearts moved by the profound simplicity of the Buddha's wisdom. "Let compassion guide you," the Buddha declared. "In compassion, the illusion of separation fades, and we find peace in connection." Mara smiled softly, her spirit uplifted by the hope and clarity the Buddha's teachings had offered her troubled soul. The stream continued its gentle course, reflecting sunlight and shadows as the cycle of life flowed endlessly onward. Another day, as dawn broke and painted the sky with radiant hues, the Buddha gathered his disciples in a quiet clearing. The disciples sat in attentive silence, sensing the profound importance of the wisdom the Blessed One was about to share. The Buddha began, "Life is filled with uncertainty. Suffering arises when we resist these truths rather than embracing their inevitability." Rahula asked hesitantly, "Master, how do we find peace in the face of uncertainties that seem to overshadow life itself?" The Buddha gestured toward the scattered morning dew, glistening on blades of grass before disappearing under the warmth of the sun. "Observe the dew," the Buddha said. "Its existence is brief, yet it contributes beauty and nourishment to the earth below." Rahula nodded, his gaze fixed on the dew. He began to see fleeting moments as gifts rather than causes for despair. "Acceptance does not mean resignation," the Buddha continued. "It is a recognition of life's nature and an invitation to live fully." Mara spoke softly. Master, I often fight against impermanence, clinging to what I cannot keep. How do I release this struggle? The Buddha picked up a fragile autumn leaf and held it between his fingers, its surface beginning to crumble gently. This leaf, he said, once thrived, and now it falls. By letting it go, we honor its journey and nature. Mara held her breath, her heart moved by the simple but profound act of releasing attachment to the impermanent. The Buddha placed the leaf back onto the earth, its fading presence now intertwined with the soil's promise of renewal. Rahula asked, Blessed One, is there freedom beyond suffering? Does acceptance offer lasting liberation? The Buddha smiled compassionately and answered, Freedom is found not beyond suffering, but within it, through the practice of acceptance. Master, Mara said, how do we accept the unbearable? Loss and pain feel insurmountable when they grip our hearts. The Buddha gestured toward the sturdy tree nearby, its branches swaying gently under the soft caress of the morning breeze. The tree bends with the wind, the Buddha explained. It does not resist through its flexibility, it remains grounded and whole. Mara whispered, So, must we bend with suffering, allowing it to pass without resistance or denial? The Buddha nodded solemnly. When you embrace suffering rather than resist it, you find the strength to withstand and transcend. Rahula asked, Blessed One, how do we practice acceptance in the small moments, before fear and doubt overwhelm us? Through mindfulness, the Buddha replied. Each breath, each thought, each action anchors us in awareness and opens our hearts to acceptance. The disciples leaned forward, eager to learn how mindfulness could transform their struggles into sources of wisdom and peace. Master, a disciple asked, does acceptance mean letting go of hope or dreams for the future? Not at all, the Buddha replied. Acceptance enriches hope and dreams by grounding them in reality and freeing them from delusion. Rahula questioned further. How do we balance acceptance with our desire to change and improve ourselves in the world? Through compassionate action, the Buddha explained. Acceptance allows you to act with clarity, creating change without losing harmony with life's nature. The disciples reflected, realizing the profound power of merging acceptance with mindful and compassionate action to create meaning and growth. Another day passed, and the Buddha continued to guide his disciples, weaving wisdom into their lives with each word spoken. Master, Mara asked, how will we know if we have truly embraced acceptance in our hearts and minds? The Buddha said, when fear no longer governs your choices, and peace arises even amidst the uncertainties of life, acceptance has blossomed. The disciples felt the depth of the Buddha's words, finding hope in the promise of peace that acceptance could bring. Acceptance, the Buddha continued, is the bridge between suffering and freedom, carrying you over the waters of fear and resistance. Rahula whispered, Master, how does acceptance lead to freedom when suffering persists within life's impermanence? The Buddha smiled gently and said, freedom arises when suffering no longer imprisons your mind, and impermanence becomes a source of gratitude. Mara spoke again. Master, how can gratitude flourish when loss leaves emptiness in its wake? The Buddha gazed at the blooming flowers nearby, their vivid colors a testament to the beauty born from transience. Gratitude, he said, is not born from permanence. It blooms from the awareness that each moment is a gift to cherish. The disciples watched the flowers sway, understanding the lessons carried by their fleeting yet exquisite presence in the world. Mara asked, Blessed One, does acceptance mean we no longer grieve for what is lost? Grief, the Buddha replied, is part of acceptance. It honors what was, while allowing space for healing and renewal. Rahula questioned further. Master, how can grief coexist with peace? Are they not opposites within the heart? Grief and peace are companions, the Buddha said. Peace holds space for grief, transforming it into love and wisdom. Another day unfolded, and the disciples gathered once more, the tranquility of the clearing nurturing their hearts and minds. The Buddha spoke, his voice steady and profound. Do not seek to escape uncertainty, for it is inseparable from the richness of life. Master, a disciple asked, how do we embrace uncertainty without losing ourselves to fear? Through trust, the Buddha replied. Trust in the interconnectedness of all things and the wisdom of impermanence. Rahula said. Blessed One, trust feels fragile in the face of uncertainty. How can we strengthen it? Through practice, the Buddha explained. Each act of acceptance strengthens trust. Nurturing peace as uncertainty becomes a source of growth. Mara questioned, Master, does acceptance mean relinquishing control over our lives and choices? Acceptance reveals what you can control and what you cannot, the Buddha replied. It empowers rather than diminishes your choices. The disciples reflected deeply, their hearts opening to the truth and beauty of the Buddha's teachings on acceptance. The Buddha stood, his presence radiating calm and wisdom, as he guided his disciples toward the path of acceptance. Master, Mara asked, is acceptance the ultimate goal, or is there wisdom beyond it? Acceptance is a gateway, the Buddha said. Beyond it lies compassion, gratitude, and the freedom to live with fullness and peace. The disciples felt the profound impact of these words. Finding hope and clarity within the path illuminated by the Blessed One, the moon rose, casting soft silver light over the gathering. As the disciples absorbed the teachings shared by the Buddha, each disciple departed, carrying the seeds of acceptance and wisdom deep within their hearts, nurturing peace in their lives. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.